3, 2, 1. Our speakers are ready, and we're going to get through this without any raindrops, right? The mayor guarantees. All right. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us for a very, very exciting announcement as our nation is about to embark on a historic investment in our nation's infrastructure. And of course, that means significant investment in California's infrastructure as well. I'm joined today by a number of partners in this effort and local leaders, starting with Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren. Let's give her a round of applause. San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo. Therese McMillan from the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. Glenn Hendricks from the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority, he's the board chair. David Bieni from the Santa Clara and San Benito Counties Building and Construction Trades Council. We'll be hearing from all of them. We're also joined by Michelle Bouchard and Dev Davis from Caltrain. So let's jump right into it. As we've all seen on the news, just last week, Congress finished passage of a bipartisan infrastructure bill that will bring billions of dollars to improve California's roads, bridges, ports, our electrical grid, our water infrastructure, and so much more. And now we continue the work to finalize the second track of President Biden's Build Back Better agenda to build at the Diridion Station. The partisan infrastructure bill includes $66 billion in passenger and freight rail spending to support improvements at stations just like this. It includes $8 billion for the Capital Investment Grants Program, which is helping to fund the BART Silicon Valley extension. Been waiting around that one for a while. The bipartisan infrastructure bill also invests over $90 billion in public transit, from electric buses to passenger railways. Yeah, funding for airports too. This is the largest ever federal investment in public transportation and a critical step towards a more sustainable future. California will receive more than $25 billion to repair our roads and highways and over $600 million to prepare our transportation system for extreme weather, droughts, and wildfires. Yes, the impact of climate change is real and it's here. And these projects collectively will help better connect communities, not just here in San Jose, but throughout the region and throughout the state, and will improve the lives of workers who today may live in the San Joaquin Valley and commute to jobs in the Silicon Valley. And we're going to do all of this while creating many new good-paying union jobs in the process. So I want to take a moment thinking of good good-paying jobs to know that as we talk about infrastructure, we're also investing in the workers. And the VTA family's heart still mourns the tragedy from earlier this year. In May, we know what happened at the yard at the VTA site. Service has been restored. Service will continue to improve, but none of it would be possible without the workers. And just want to take a moment to acknowledge that. Now, a lot of what we're bragging about and celebrating in this package comes from conversations and collaborations of leaders throughout the state. I've traveled up and down the state as your newer senator to make sure that as Congressmember Lofgren and I advocate in Congress, as this package was being crafted, that it reflect the priorities of the state of California, including the completion of Diridion Station into the Grand Central Station of the West. That's the kind of scale of what we're talking about. And because of the stories that I heard on the ground, Northern California, Southern California, Central California, I had the tremendous honor and opportunity to work with Representative Lofgren and the entire California delegation to champion measures in the bipartisan bill to support clean transportation and grid resiliency. A couple of other elements I think that are worth noting. It includes a $5 billion down payment on zero-emission school buses so that all children can arrive to school healthier and ready to learn. It includes a $5 billion investment to upgrade our power grid to better withstand climate change-driven extreme weather events and natural disasters. We also fought to ensure that the bill invests in critical upgrades to drinking water and wastewater infrastructure, including $3.5 billion for California to ensure that every California community has reliable and safe drinking water. This bill will infuse over $8 billion throughout the West for water infrastructure like water recycling, dam safety, and other programs that are critical to helping San Jose and other communities improve its drought resiliency. And I'm also proud to say that the bipartisan infrastructure bill includes my bipartisan bill to finally allow urban Indian organizations like the Urban Indian Health Center of Santa Clara Valley to use already appropriated funds for infrastructure projects. But as much as there is to celebrate in the bipartisan bill, we are eager to build on these victories with a bold new budget via the Build Back Better Act. We're planning to complement transit and other infrastructure investments with funding for affordable housing that will increase economic opportunity and equity. We'll also strengthen the care economy because it's pretty simple. Affordable child care is just as essential for working families as safe roads. And we'll continue to advance a transformative climate agenda. So a lot more to do, but a lot to celebrate already. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague in the House of Representatives, your member of Congress, Zoe Lofgren.
Well, thank you so much, Senator Padilla. I really think California is so lucky to have Alex Padilla in the United States Senate. He has done a wonderful job sticking up for California with this bill, and we're looking ahead to the second half of the Build Back Better agenda. And I know if there's an issue, all we do is call him, and he's there for California and our working people. He's gone through the elements in this bill that will make an important difference in the lives of Californians and San Joseans and people in Santa Clara County. There's one other thing I wanted to mention, which is the $3 billion investment for competitive grants for railroad crossing elimination. We know that that's a problem here in San Jose, and we know that we need to have some quiet zones in Japantown and some other areas. I'm going to be working with the mayor and with the county supervisors to make sure that we get our applications in, and hopefully we get funding so that people can sleep at night. I also want to mention the high-speed internet provision in this bill. $65 billion for the nation, but we know there are parts of our community, even here in Santa Clara County, where high-speed internet does not exist. And you can go and find out where that is when you see parents with their kids in a car outside of McDonald's so their kids can do their homework. That should not be. And this will be a major step forward to end that. And finally, I want to talk about both the grid and electric vehicle charging. I have an electric vehicle, and I know that although we've done better here in San Jose than most communities, there's a big shortage of electric vehicle charging opportunities, and that's an impediment to people switching over to clean vehicles. This bill has $15 billion allocated to that. Some for EV buses, but also for providing a network nationwide of charging stations that will be transformative for the transportation sector. And of course, as the senator mentioned, 73 billion for upgrading the grid nationwide. That's important in terms of a power source for all of you. We know when the power goes out, it's not a pleasure here, but it's also a national security issue. We need to make sure that our grid is secure from natural hazards, but also foreign adversaries. This bill will help make that so. I'll just say this, I was there on the floor of the House just before midnight on Friday. It was a great relief to have the bipartisan vote to support this bill. Some of us were hoping this could have been passed a few months ago, but watching the sausage making is not always fun. I will say this, the prior administration had Transportation Week for 4 years, and we had a transportation vote that made it into actual law. These benefits will flood the country. And with that, let me welcome our mayor, who's done so much for our community and is our partner on these advances, Sam Liccardo.
Thank you, Congresswoman Lofgren, and thank you, Senator Padilla. It's great to have you back in San Jose. Thank you for bringing Infrastructure Week to San Jose and to the Bay Area. We are so grateful for your leadership in Washington, and particularly on the Environment and Public Works Committee, which we know is critical in shaping this infrastructure package, which is going to do so much for our region. And thank you to both of you for this very heavy slog. We know this was not easy, and it took a lot of collaboration and some compromise, but we got there, and we did it together as a country. And in particular, I want to welcome Senator Padilla as a member of our local delegation, because I think he's been here to San Jose more than anybody outside our local delegation in the last year, probably than anybody else in Congress for the last decade. So thank you for your continued commitment to our community. We are here at what will become part of downtown San Jose. Right now, what you see are a lot of empty parking lots. Well, some of them are full. But for the most part, we know that what is today is not going to be what is a half decade from now. And this is an extraordinary opportunity, this area around Diridion, for remaking our city, for reimagining a city that was built for automobiles into a city built for people. Next week, the council is going to be taking a very visionary step to preserve thousands of acres of open space in Coyote Valley. And we are continually focusing on how we can densify in core areas like here in downtown, where you're going to soon see breaking ground. Google will be breaking ground, that is next year, on a 6 million square foot campus on 4,000 units of housing. A quarter of them will be rent restricted and affordable. Adobe is finishing construction on the doubling of its world headquarters across the creek here. J. Paul and Boston Properties have both broken ground on million square feet campuses in each of their projects, with many million more. Thousands of homes, particularly affordable homes, are planned along this West San Carlos corridor from here in downtown, heading west in Dev Davis's district. We are seeing an explosion of growth and development here in the downtown. And of course, all of that depends on one simple fulcrum, and that is infrastructure. As we battle the noise from the airplanes, as we are here next to this historic, beautiful station, what our top engineers tell us is that all the activity we have planned is not going to fit in this box next to me. Well, we're looking at, of course, the electrification of Caltrain. We know we're going to need another $333 million, is that right, Councilmember Davis, to complete that project. We may need a little more money to get BART all the way here to downtown San Jose, just open to Berryessa. We are going to certainly need more investment in the ACE train Capitol Core Rail Station, the first station out our region. And I'm so grateful that we've got a bill that commits a historic level, $91 billion to transit. Never before have we seen this kind of investment from the federal government. Incredible commitments to affordable housing, a home, CDBG, and low-income housing tax credits, EV charging, as Councilmember Lofgren mentioned, we are the city with the largest deployment of electric vehicles in the nation in our metro, and of course all that we need for water. Although it may be raining today, we're going to be in a drought for a while, folks, and we've got a lot of ambitions around expanding water recycling and purification. So we are so grateful to see this bill come just in the moment when we are ready to move forward aggressively. And with that, I wanted to introduce the head of our Metropolitan Transportation Commission, a woman who's done an incredible job leading our region, just coming in quite recently, just a year or so ago. She has hit the ground running. Actually, I got that wrong, Therese. Was it 2 years? Yeah. 2 years, I'm sorry. You know, it's the pandemic time. Welcome, Therese McMillan.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mayor Liccardo, and thank you, Senator Padilla, Congresswoman Lofgren, and everyone involved in putting together an event to celebrate what is really a opening for a new moment and chapter in American infrastructure history, I believe. In this season of Thanksgiving, let us also give enormous thanks to the entire Bay Area congressional delegation, especially Speaker Nancy Pelosi, for their incredible work in helping to pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill late last week. And as members have said, that was a huge lift. There's an old adage in politics that timing is everything, and this bill could not have come at a better time, as the Bay Area last month adopted its long-range plan strategy to guide transportation, housing, the environment, and the economy through year 2050. Not only will the big increase in transit funding help modernize our existing bus, train, light rail, streetcar, and ferry systems, but it also expands grant programs that will allow transformational projects like BART to San Jose and Santa Clara and the Diridion Station plan to compete with other metro areas for dollars needed to move these really important projects from plan to construction. Like Plan Bay Area 2050, our long-range plan, the new bill also has groundbreaking focus on climate change, tackling greenhouse gas emissions from all sides, not just by making big investments in transit generally, but also for providing money for electric buses, upgrading electrical grid, and supporting expansion of charging network to make those electric cars actually go on the road, and make it a more practical choice for people when they're not riding transit. So working together to integrate transportation and the environment and our economy, and very importantly, housing, is a critical way of advancing quality of life for everyone who lives here in the 9-county Bay Area and in this wonderful county of Santa Clara. Housing, of course, is fundamental to this vision of making the Bay Area more affordable for everyone. So as we celebrate passage of the infrastructure bill today, as was mentioned by our speakers ahead of me, let's also keep our eyes on the work ahead, both here in our local areas and in Washington, D.C. The Build Back Better package of investments is especially crucial, as it could be transformational, helping to roughly double the number of affordable homes built in California each year. And perhaps we can finally get ahead of the crisis that's affecting so much of our neighbors. We at MTC and our partners all around the Bay Area stand in strong support of Senator Padilla, Congresswoman Lofgren, and the rest of our California leaders as they labor to make Build Back Better the law of the land. And with that, I am happy to hand the mic over to Glenn Hendricks, Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority Board Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank Senator Padilla and the rest of the California delegation for getting the infrastructure bill passed. There are local transit agencies all over the country, just like VTA, who let out a huge sigh of relief for getting this passed. So thank you. I want to thank Mayor Liccardo for the points he made about how much this is going to help bring home funding we will need to complete the BART extension, which VTA is building, and to extend service from the Berryessa Transit Center through downtown San Jose and into Santa Clara. We're especially proud of the federal government has the confidence in VTA to include us in the expedited project delivery program. With this new legislation ensures that those funds will be available for projects like ours. I've spoken to a lot of people out in the public who are having difficulty understanding what these federal funds mean at a local level. And let me just try and translate a little bit. These infrastructure funds can be used to create jobs that build projects like the BART extension, for VTA to meet the state of California mandates for clean energy fleet by 2040, and for electric charging infrastructure at our 3 yards, for projects that will help reduce congestion, specifically bicycle and pedestrian improvements, furthering our actions to save the planet from greenhouse gases. We have a responsibility to build a greener transportation network in Santa Clara County, and this funding is going to help us do just that. In addition to chairing the VTA Board of Directors, I am also a member of the Caltrain Board of Directors. And so again, I would like to offer my gratitude to Mayor Liccardo for his supportive words about how much this is going to help us meet our goal of electrification for Caltrain, for grade separations, and for stations. And so in closing, I just want to offer my gratitude on behalf of the Valley Transportation Authority and Caltrain to Senator Benito and his tremendous support for public transit. I hope you can see and hear our relief at seeing the resources we need to do our jobs. So thank you very much. Almost forgot. I'd like to introduce David Bieni of the Santa Clara and San Benito Counties Building and Construction Trade Council, the Executive Director.
For years, this nation has been falling further and further behind on the infrastructure that supports our society. The ports, railways, and roadways that allow our nation to survive and thrive, that allow for the commerce between distant cities, have eroded due to the lack of investment and deferred maintenance. New investments in transportation, such as high-speed rail, and in water storage and conveyance, have seemed to be dreams that were just out of reach. Today, I would like to thank Senator Alex Padilla and Representative Zoe Lofgren for their work toward bringing these dreams back within reach through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. This legislation is well named. While we are rebuilding and repairing our transportation, water, and energy systems, and while we are strengthening and expanding the infrastructure that we rely on, we will be creating jobs for those who need them most in service industries, in construction, in maintenance, in transportation, in energy, and technology. These workers, in turn, will circulate money back into the local economies, creating even more jobs. We stand today on a site that is being reimagined. Currently, it brings together rail and bus service. With new investment, Diridion Station will become a hub, bringing together Caltrain, BART, Amtrak, high-speed rail, bus service, and a people mover that will effectively bring San Jose Airport right here. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act is a bill that is long overdue, but it is more than just overdue legislation. The bill is an investment. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act is an investment in America. Thank you.
Just want to thank all the speakers again for joining us today and for their tremendous partnership and advocacy to get us to this point. And with that, we'll open up to any questions.
You talking about water stuff? Is any of that money going to go to building new dams anywhere in California? Because even when they're all full, it's still not enough.
Right. Well, let me just say this. If we could pass a bill that say it's going to rain more next year, and it would happen, we'd do that in a heartbeat. But in the meantime, there is significant investment in this package for water infrastructure, recognizing two main things. Number one, we actually lose a lot of water to evaporation, and we lose a lot of water to leaks. Leaks, whether it's in storage facilities, whether it's in canals, whether it's in pipes. So upgrading of our infrastructure will help our existing precious water resources go a long, long way.
Senator, can you talk about accountability for spending? How who's going to keep an eye on all this money, whether or not it goes to where it needs to go, and it's going to be spent
Yep. No, great point. And I think I'll invite Zoe Lofgren to add anything, but as a baseline, we look at the lessons from the Recovery Act dollars that came during the Great Recession. At the time, now Vice President Biden was Vice President Biden in charge with oversight and accountability of the dollars that were invested then. And we saw probably the most effective, efficient implementation of programs and dollars than we've ever seen at the federal level. And so that has set the tone for what we will do collectively, not just on the administration side, but on the congressional side, to make sure this money gets to where it's needed and it's properly spent.
I'll just add that the funding will go through, in many ways, the traditional system. For example, the Federal Department of Transportation has existing programs. They've got accountability measures built into their systems. We'll also be working with our state and local partners, and we've got to have a lot of oversight, not only among legislators, but citizens. Keep an eye out, make sure that our eye is on the ball, and so I invite anyone here, if they see anything they think's a problem, give me a call or Senator Padilla.
Senator Padilla,
Yes.
how many jobs do you anticipate will be created in California and
Oh, we're in the tens of thousands of jobs statewide. More local number, not sure right now, but there's going to be a lot. This is, again, a historic investment in infrastructure. There's been a lot of drama over the last several months about, is this going to get done? Is it not going to get done? What the top line number is going to be. At the end of it all, this is the biggest investment in infrastructure in decades, and the first investment in sustainable infrastructure.
Is this going to help get high-speed rail over the finish line?
Absolutely. There's $10 billion in this for California high-speed rail project.
And with all this growth in transportation and everything else, I mean, the taxpayers, is it going to affect the taxpayers, even commuters, an increase in their taxes or in the
No, actually, that's the beauty of this infrastructure package. The two bills put together is a significant investment in our infrastructure, will improve lives and bring costs for working families down. All right, working families are, the tax increases are going to be at the higher end for the most wealthy and the larger corporations. For working families, you're going to see more subsidies and assistance when it comes to child care, education, healthcare access, and more.
I want to add to that because there's no tax increase for regular Americans in this bill, and I think it's important. Some people who oppose infrastructure trying to spin that and then make up a bunch of lies about it. It's not the case. Now, the Build Back Better bill, which is next, actually more than pays for itself. And how does it do that? Not by taxing middle-class people, but going after where the money is. If you take a look at corporate taxes, there are major corporations that made $1 gazillion, paid no taxes whatsoever. So the plan is to have an alternative minimum tax, 15%. That's actually less than you and I pay as a rate, so that nobody can get away with paying nothing. And it raises a significant amount of sums. And we've also got an international agreement so that you can't have these kind of corporate raiders going from country to country escaping their fair share. I'm glad they're prosperous. Pay your taxes.
Well, if that's it, last question. Sí. Sí. Bueno, estamos aquí celebrando el paquete de infraestructura que fue aprobada por el Congreso esta semana. Significa una gran inversión, una inversión histórica, no solo en la infraestructura del país, pero de California y esta área de la bahía. Todos tipos de infraestructura, de sistemas de transportación y tránsito público, infraestructura que mejor protege nuestra agua, el sistema de electricidad y más, no solo para prepararnos y protegernos en el futuro, sino crear muchas oportunidades de empleo a la vez. Bueno, para una familia, este paquete, junto con el segundo paquete que estamos negociando, que se va a aprobar antes del fin del año, significa no solo más oportunidad, pero una vida más acosteable para familias trabajadoras con asistencia en acceso de programas de salud, educación y mucho más. Gracias. Thank you all for coming. Stay warm.